Hello everybody and welcome back to another reading vlog here on my channel. In today's video, I am so excited to introduce this book. By the thumbnail and also the name of this video, you clicked on it for a specific reason. You already know what it's about, but this book took the internet by storm. I feel like so many years ago, it was like a couple of years ago, and I think 3 months afterwards or 4 months after it went out of stock completely, I ended up picking it up, ordering it off Amazon and ordering it for myself, and I just never read it because I love to have completed series on my shelves and then start to read them. It's a really bad habit, I know. I finally decided to put it on TBR and I'm going to read it this month. I'm talking about Fourth Wing. February is the month that I'm going to tackle this book and I cannot be more excited. I've heard such amazing things about this book. I've also not heard necessarily spoilers about this book, and if I remember correctly, it was either a blue or a black, hello Lily, it was either a blue or a black dragon that I had one time. It was like a TikTok filter way before when I had TikTok, and I think it said something like Morning Star, but I think Morning Star is also maybe a book from the Red Rising, so maybe I'm messing that up. Either way, I had either a blue dragon or a black dragon, and I'm excited to see which one's which, like what that means in this book, because I have no idea. Like I said, I don't really know spoilers, and also I'm so excited about just to see how I feel about it, if I actually enjoy it. Of course, since I have 2 books I could potentially pick up in the series, and I know the next one is apparently like a flop or just more of a disappointment to a lot of people. I know how much everybody right now, since Onyx Storm just released, I think at the beginning of this month, if not the end of January, everybody has been loving that book, and I need to know what that book is about as well. I'm so behind and I'm so excited to finally start this. I hope it's really good for me, I'm not gonna lie, and I hope you guys enjoy this video. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into it. Alright everybody, I want to do my first update on Fourth Wing technically, and we are a pretty decent chunk into it. We're at page 104 technically, which is chapter 9. I made a decent dent, and I just kind of want to update what I'm thinking so far about this book. So first off, I already know that this book was really hyped, and I feel like for 100 pages in, I can see it. I can see where it was coming from. I can see it continuing. I feel like it's actually really good. The writing isn't necessarily like the most poetic or descriptive even, but at the same time, it's really easy to get into the book. We hop straight into action pretty much. Like there is no introduction, there's no hardcore world building like high fantasy might be, where it's just like all the info dumping at the beginning. You have like the politics, the world building itself, certain characters, maybe even 8 to 10 characters you're trying to learn, memorize, and remember about. Instead, it's like you can follow this book along really quickly and hop into it, and I'm really enjoying the aspect of that. And also the pacing of it, I feel like it's pretty fast paced, one right after the other. Like every chapter I feel like ends to where when you start up the next chapter, you don't want to stop. As soon as it ends, you just want to keep reading, which is really great. And also I want to kind of talk about this book in reference to a past series I read in middle school pretty much. And I know this is not going to be comparable, but one of the first series I ever actually read that has stuck with me throughout the years that I absolutely loved, and even rereading it as an adult I still had those same feelings, was actually Veronica Roth's Divergent. It was more so because you kind of have a dystopian world with a little subplot of romance at the same time, and the characters are pretty decent. Besides the last book, some things happen I feel like that kind of gets frustrating with one of our main characters, but the entire story, I love the pacing of that story and that series. And when I was younger, I had to wait for each book to come out before I could read the next one, and it was so intriguing. And I have such great memories from reading that series, and also remember so many emotions that I had that I still had when I reread it. And that's how I feel with this book. I feel like the series is going to be similar, not in the aspect of they're comparable, but just like how I felt for a while reading and how I'm currently feeling while reading this book. I don't know why, but my mind keeps going back to that Divergent series, which is in my mind a good thing. I don't know how to describe it, but I feel like because it's such a popular series, it's something that maybe if you read it and you have the same feeling as me, you can kind of understand what I'm trying to get at, because I don't think I'm saying it correctly or how I'm trying to get it to come across. But this book for sure I'm enjoying so much. I feel like I'm not going to talk too crazy much about everything. There is potentially going to be a spoiler section section, but it'll be at the end of this video if I do put one in, because I'm sure there's going to be some parts where I need some spoilers just spoken about. But for the most part, this will be a spoiling free reading vlog, and I don't know, I find the characters so intriguing. One thing I do remember kind of being spoiled about was the fact that our main character always mentioned how small and fragile she was, or people were always mentioning that, and I can see where that gets annoying. Me personally, I feel like it's not overdone just yet. I could see if we're on page like 430 by the end of this book and they're still repeating it like every single page or chapter, I can see where it could get very annoying. But as of right now, I don't think it's overdone just yet. I'm enjoying the characters. I also absolutely love how the mother is your typical like sweet, loving, endearing. She's just very kind of like, well, you're either going to be a writer or you're going to die. I'm going to make you become a writer no matter what. I kind of like that dynamic. It's just a little bit different from some of the books that I've read, and here recently especially. I also love how our main character has potentially two different loves. I'm not really a love triangle type person, because half the time it like kind of involves leading on or cheating in one way or another. But in this book, I can see two possibilities, because I know there's a subplot of romance in one way or another, and I know one person technically that people are obsessed with who have read this book. They always say they're a blank insert name here type girl, and I can totally see that, like the main character dating that person or somebody else from her childhood. There's like two potential tropes that could carry on throughout this book, or at least one of them maybe would be picked from this book. I feel like there's like the friends to lovers trope, or we got the dynamic of enemies to lovers, and I feel like the enemies to lovers might be one that I really enjoy, because it's more of like a, since this is fantasy, it's more of like a, hey, I want to kill you type, not like a, oh, I'm mad at you, we're gonna be enemies. It's more serious, and I do kind of see the childhood one working out, but I feel like for some reason in Onyx Storm, I just feel like because how everybody was reacting to the ending of that, something bad might happen to that childhood friend one, and I don't know if they're gonna last the entire time. I don't know what's gonna happen. I've never heard any spoilers about the last two books at all, just like those two things about which guy that people like the most. That's pretty much all I've really heard, except for her always being called small and fragile. I don't know if I'm potentially saying anything I might regret later, or if basically I'm just pulling stuff out of my head. That's really all I have to say. 100 pages in, I definitely don't want to put down the book. I feel like the pacing is so good when it comes to like, you finish a chapter and you just want to keep reading. You don't want to stop. I feel like Rebecca Yarros did a really good job at making it very intriguing, or having almost like cliffhangers on some chapters to make you just want to binge the whole entire book, which is both good but also terrible. I'm not gonna lie. And I also like, now that we've kind of been introduced to the dragons a little bit, I kind of like how they have legitimate personalities. They could talk to you. I think that's interesting. But that's all I have to update. I'm gonna keep reading. Alright everybody, I want to do my final update for today. I did take a shower. Actually, I took a bath and read in the bath for a while, and then I took a shower to kind of clean my hair since it was curled, and it's actually pretty much dry. It looks terrible, I'm so sorry. But I want to update to tell you how far I got. I just stopped on page 154. It is chapter 13. We made it just a little bit farther, not too incredibly much. If you've read this book, then you already know where I'm at. I just read the part where they did their like little walk in front of the dragons for the first time and then came back. So I had everything from, what is it called? The gauntlet, I think it's called, like the little trial obstacle course that they had, and then the actual day that it counted to do the obstacle course, that as well, and then of course their little walk in front of the dragons. And I know I said it, but I am very much enjoying this. This story is so good for some reason. It just has me captivated, or like it just has me so intrigued for whatever reason, and the more I'm reading, the more I'm getting like excited and having a little bit of emotion where I'm ready. I'm ready to keep reading. I'm ready to almost finish this book, but I'm sad if I do happen to finish this book. Like it's a big pot of emotions in a way. And also for the most part, I'm enjoying how fast-paced it is, as in she's been already here, I think over 2 months she's survived. So we're getting that where we're not being updated every single day. It's kind of like, oh, days later or maybe a week later. It just seems like time is flying by, which I thought a big portion of this book was going to be almost like the entire place that she's at right now training. I figured it'd be like like 75% of the book, and maybe we'd have like a war at the last 25% or something bad. That's how I thought it was going to be, and I feel like we're not even going to get to 50%, maybe 25, and then all of a sudden it's going to be, oh, she did what she needed to do. Let's just say she graduates. I don't know how it's all going to work out, but let's just say she graduates, and then we have majority, if not half the book, to have maybe a war or this big conflict happen or something else that I'm just not thinking of. So I have no clue which direction exactly this book is going to head, but I'm absolutely loving the pacing of it, and I'm loving how much I'm so intrigued into it, and just I'm picturing everything. Like, I'm watching it as a movie, which here lately I've been doing that a lot with like my 5-star reads, but I also don't have that very often, if that makes sense. I don't know, it's like some books give me it and other books give me 0% of that, and sometimes I get like a 25% where it's like I can picture it but not in color, and sometimes not every page I can picture. I don't know if that makes sense, but this book, it's like I can picture everything in the color, and if I'm really into it, I feel like I'm there and I'm just watching as like a movie's going by, or even like the sounds are really loud, like surround sound type sounds, and I'm reading everything but I'm hearing everybody in different voices. That's kind of what I'm picturing with this book, which is making me absolutely fall in love with this story, and I'm really excited about it. That's a good sign, to be honest. Hello everybody. Last time I updated, I had just stopped around, I think 154 or so. We read about 40 pages since then. It's about 194. I think I've read about 10 to maybe 20 today, and then yesterday I read pretty much like about the same. I don't remember what I last updated on. I think they were doing their walkthrough with the dragons. I got to the point where yesterday I was reading just a little bit as we went up to the family farm, and on the way there I read a few pages, and I got up to the point where they're at their threshing. They're at choosing potentially what dragons might choose them, or choosing dragons themselves. And also, by the time I stopped last night before reading and picking this back up this morning, I had to the point where something was happening to our main character as she was trying to protect a certain being, let's just say. I did not want to stop reading, and yet in the middle, and I mean in the middle of that happening, like the beginning of that happening, I had stopped, and then I picked it up today, which obviously I know how it ended, and oh my goodness, it was so good. I was so invested, I forgot what I stopped on, and jumping back into it, it was just so perfect. I love how at almost 200 pages, I have been invested this entire time. It is so good. I've been watching this as a movie. I can pick the book up after hours of not reading it and just jump into the exact spot that I was reading, and it's like I've never left. It's so good. And also, I'm really enjoying like the getting to know the characters more, let's just say. There's some things about certain characters I'm like, I could see that happening, or this is gonna happen, and then when something does happen, I'm like, that's what you get. And then there's other characters that I'm like, well, I thought this is how you were going to turn out, but now I'm kind of getting that you're not going to be my favorite character. I'm starting to want the main character to move over and be with this person. I hate to say that. Maybe my thoughts will change on that, but today is a decent day. I'm not saying it's really warm outside, but compared to what we've been having, it's like 45 or so degrees outside. So I'm gonna go outside while Josh and our son are outside, and I'm gonna sit and read a little bit, go get the mail, just kind of just enjoy the sun. The snow's melting, enjoy the warmer weather until I have to get ready for work. We're almost to page 200, and so much has went on, and I just wanted to give you all 100% spoilers, but at the same time, it's like, if I can keep from saying spoilers in this video, I would love that. One thing though that I can tell you that I'm absolutely enjoying too is I love how the dragons communicate. I love how it's just like thoughts in your head, and for the most part it's just you and your dragon, like the rider and the dragon for the most part. And then we get like a little bit of a dynamic of sometimes you can have you as the rider with your dragon having a mate, and that mate's rider also being connected to you. I kind of like that. I think that dynamic is a little bit cool, and also it's almost like the character is annoyed by it, but I feel like it's going to be better more than it's going to be bad. I love how the dragons communicate, and also I just like how sometimes you can tick off a dragon just by looking at them, and then other times it's like, oh, we have this one dragon who is okay with some sass, let's just say, okay with making exceptions and, you know, helping a certain rider, and also okay if they fall off and he catches her, while the rest of them, if a rider falls off, they just basically let them fall to their death. I'm enjoying that aspect, and also the friend group. I don't feel like the friend group is really bad. I like Violet's two best friends, I'm gonna say. You got Rye and then you got Sawyer. I like them. I feel like Sawyer is my favorite out of both of them. Oh, and I guess you also got Riddick. I don't remember his name. It starts with an R, but I guess we also have him. He's pretty funny from time to time too. That's really all I have to update. Hello, I want to update on Fourth Wing. I don't think I said I was going to get very far at all. I don't remember when I last left off, but we're pretty much on 316, which means we have a little less than 200 pages of this book, because I do believe it's like 499 or 500 pages even. I've already taken a shower today. I already have chicken in the fridge marinating for supper tonight, and I also have to leave in a couple hours to go to work. So I don't want to do too much today. I feel like I just want to sit down and read just a little bit. I have my whole day tomorrow. I'm off, so I can clean. I can do everything I need to do tomorrow instead of today, and I'm going to just try and sit and tackle, at least get to 350, if not 375, maybe 400. That's pushing it. Maybe 400 though. That would be kind of good to get to, but I want to get that far mainly because we have about 3 days left of February to finish this book, and like I said, we do have less than 200 pages, but with me working and then of course on my off days I do a lot more than just sitting, so I don't know how much I will get to actually tackle, but I want to sit here, read, and also record me reading. I love what they're planning to do for like this last trial, let's just say, or last, I can't remember what it's called because I read it last night and for some reason I'm just not remembering, but their last thing that they're supposed to do. I love what Violet decides that they should steal. It's like a good win, not just because of winning potentially the trial thing, but it's also like a little backstabbing or a little like smug smile for her mother. I also really enjoy when books have letters and other different variants of fonts or even like pictures in them. I just feel like it makes the book so much better. I don't know why. I like this part. So Violet, without spoiling anything, she does something. Basically, she just slips something to somebody as they're unconscious, let's just say. There's another character in this group, let's just say. His name is Liam. He looks at her with wide eyes and he says, "You're kind of terrifying." And she's like, "Thank you." The ending of this chapter is so good. I'm not gonna say names, I'm just gonna read something out loud. I'm gonna skip around a little bit. So, all mayhem breaks out. Some riders rushing to the stage and professors battle their way towards them, but Violet ignores all of it except for this one person who tilts one corner of that beautiful mouth and tips an imaginary hat to me, bowing his head for a heartbeat before bringing his gaze back to hold mine. Satisfactory fills every ounce of my being as I smile up at him. It doesn't matter how the vote comes down, I've already won. And now we go to the next chapter. One thing though I will say real quick about the chapters, every time we start a new chapter, especially in like I feel like the last 100 pages, we are just skipping time. It could be like, oh, December goes into January, and now all of a sudden we're in January, and we don't know much about what was in December. Like, we're just skipping a lot of time, which, I mean, in theory, I feel like it's not necessarily needed because obviously the book doesn't provide that information, but at the same time, it's like, we'll randomly get day to day to day for like a whole couple weeks, and then we'll just skip like to the next month. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm kind of mixed because it's like, we could have had more information, but if it would have been like fluff type information, not related to the actual book, like in a good way, then yeah, I guess it's good to be kind of cut out and just kind of skip time. Dang it, I'm gonna include this as the list of things that I'm not liking about this book. So I just talked about, not too long ago, how I feel like we're just skipping time. We end a chapter and then we start up and it's all of a sudden like a couple days later, or they're off doing something else. Well, I'm gonna continue that. I'm actually really upset. I just did a spoiler where I was saying about how I was very excited to see how this would play out because somebody ended up showing up after the main character asked a certain question and they're like not home. Let's just say they're not in the academy. They're basically on the border. I was so excited to see how this would play out, and then we skip because it's the end of the chapter. We skip to the beginning of the next chapter and they're already the next day, they're all in their group. So I don't get to know what happened that night after he showed up. I want his thoughts. I mean, maybe it'll be like third person relaying what happened the night before, but I wanted it in that present moment. I wanted to continue reading exactly where we left off with the chapter, and we didn't do that. So now I'm a little bit upset. Oh snap, they're in trouble when a certain sibling, let's just say, calls the three main characters, the two main male and the one female, out in the hall. Let's just say that way it's not a spoiler. I can hear this in one way and one way only. A sound shield. Nice. There's so much happening right now. It's like back and forth. Oh. My camera battery is flashing, but oh my gosh. They have this argument, and now all of a sudden something's going down as they're close to the border and away from the school or the academy or whatever we want to call it. I don't know why I still don't know these terms. Like the trials that I just said, they were games, and I'm calling the school the academy. I don't know if that's true, but that's just what I'm going with. I didn't see that coming. Oh my gosh, we're on page 346, the end of the chapter. You know, things are going down. I'm not gonna give any spoilers. I don't want this in the spoiler section because I don't want to specifically say it out loud. I'm just sitting here eating my food and trying to read, and I didn't see it coming. Oh my gosh. I don't know how I feel. It's like a bittersweet, like, yay, what I'm rooting for is happening. And I could see it changing in especially this last chapter, but at the same time, it's like, what's going on? Like, I don't want to keep reading because I don't want anything bad to happen. Hey, so a lot of you guys don't know what my last name used to be before I was married, which, I mean, for privacy, I mean, it's not that big of a deal, but at the same time, like, maybe you should know. But every time I come across it in a book or anywhere else, or somebody says it, I just find it so funny, so ironic, especially because when they would read my last name, they never knew how to pronounce it. It was always Gale or Ghoul. It was always spelled terribly. It never spelled correctly. It's the easiest last name. It's in this book. Not the same though, but I just find it funny, so I'm gonna show you real quick.
Yep, right there. It's like an Easter egg sometimes.
I might have to put this in the spoiler section. What Xaden just said, oh my gosh. Let's just say, after a sassy dragon comment and then him saying what he just said, it was perfect, let's just say. I'll have to go and move this to the spoiler section. All right, now I'm coming on here to actually end out, right now at least. I don't know if I'll update tonight after work. We have read only to page 356, 357. I kind of wanted to be at like 375, but that's okay. Probably by the end of tonight, especially after waiting on the plane, I'll probably be around 370 at the bare minimum. I'm pretty sure this is a 5-star read. I'm not gonna lie. I absolutely love the feeling feeling I have while reading this. I love how I'm imagining things, like I'm watching this as a movie. I love the backstory with the friends. I love the little bit like enemies to lovers, but like friends, I guess, because it's not really lovers. Enemies to friends to a point that also have more going on with them. And I love the dragons. I love the thought process. I love the sassiness with them. I actually don't mind our main character. I like her thought process for the most part. Like sometimes there's some things that kind of bug me, but overall I'm really happy about it. And I'm so happy to be reading this book. I put this book off for so long and I still didn't want to read it just because, you know, we're not getting the fourth, and I don't know if that's going to be the final book, but the fourth book out for a couple years. She's going to take a break after writing Onyx Storm and not releasing the other one, I think until 2026 potentially, if not 2027. So we have a long while to potentially finish this series, if it's finished with 4 books. I don't even know if it's going to be finished. So that is one reason why I never wanted to start it, and now that I've started it, I can't say anything but that I'm extremely loving it, and I'm so glad I did start it. I just am also very sad. We have made it to 356. That is where I'll be stopping because I need to get some things done before I have to get ready for work. I have to do an update technically for Fourth Wing. I'm not finished with it, don't worry. I think I have like 100 pages left. Look at what I just got today. I got Iron Flame at Walmart today. It was like very expensive. It was 20 bucks, but I'm so excited to actually read this and see what this is like. Eventually, I'm probably not gonna hop into it, but this will be its own reading vlog later when I decide to read it. And also, let me show you what else is going on right now. Let's kind of walk and talk. So technically, Josh is out fixing the turbo on the cruise. We bought a cruise mainly to save money for gas because we both work at the same airport, and also it's an hour drive one way. So my truck was very expensive and Josh's Duramax is a little bit cheaper. It's only like $60 to maybe $70 every 4 days versus my truck is like $99 every 4 days to fill up. So it's a little bit cheaper to have a $30 cruise, and the turbo on the cruise actually had a crack in the housing, which is a common GM problem because of heat and then just their build quality. So he's fixing that. It is bright and sunny and beautiful out front. Here's the backyard though. That's what it looks like out back. It is so beautiful, but at the same time, it has been lightning like crazy. So it's a fun day. We barely got home after driving the wagon to go pick up the turbo and stuff and then head to Walmart for a few things. We barely got home before the whole rain started. It was very windy and it was rainy, but it wasn't like thunderstormy. And now it's like weirdly sunny, but also very crazy in the backyard. Yesterday before I went to work, I said how I was trying to get, I think, to 375. I did not get there. Even at work, I read up until 368 and then I decided because the plane took off, I was just gonna go home. I was not reading like the 6 extra pages to get to 375. But I have so many things. I wish I would have had my camera last night at work, which I could have used my phone, but at the same time, I don't want people at work knowing that I have a YouTube, so I was not going to record myself. And also it was very broken up. It wasn't like I was reading the entire thing all at once. I was reading some things and then at the same time I had to do my actual job. And then we'd have a little bit of downtime and I'd pick it up, maybe read half a page and then go back to my job and come back, you know, it was just one of those cycles. And oh my gosh, so many things were happening last night and I had to write them down on my phone so I knew what I was going to talk about today. So first off, on page 344, we had, without spoilers, a place that they were visiting along the border. It got attacked and I thought, honestly, when they were there, I knew something was going to happen. I just felt like it was building up, but I also thought it was when they were visiting, let's say, a family, and it didn't happen there, which I was surprised, but I figured it would happen nonetheless, and I was kind of correct. I also just was not expecting it. So then we have that little situation happening, and then of course when they had to leave and go back to the school. And then on 360 to 362, they have this kind of like, I think it's like a war game where it was like capture the flag, and the person who almost got killed, let's just say, the way that I was so scared reading that, and I was like, I don't know. I felt really bad. Like I was so scared if they were gonna die or if they weren't gonna die. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know how this was going to be resolved. There were so many things happening on that one. And then we have 364 through 366. 2 male characters, not necessarily fighting over Violet, but like arguing with her in the middle about something that she did. And just, I don't know, that whole conversation, I was like, I'm kind of siding with the more, let's say, violent one. It makes more sense to feel a certain way. I don't know. I had some thoughts, but I was like, I was sitting there reading it like, flipping the page. It was really good. It was really entertaining that entire time. Currently, I've read just a little bit more. I'm actually on 396, so I have just about 100 pages left of this book, and we will be finished, which is exciting. So exciting, but at the same time, kind of sad. I'm enjoying this. But like I said, I just bought Iron Flame, which I know a lot of people didn't like Iron Flame as much. I think I'm going to enjoy it because I don't mind the military style books. Obviously, it's a little bit different because we were actually military. It's more entertaining to me. I do love fantasy and then romance a little bit, like a subplot, but I think that the next book is going to be really good, and especially I want to know what Onyx Storm is about. I'll definitely update tomorrow because tomorrow is the last day to finish this book. Great. And now nobody's here. I don't know if I can read all of this. We have basically just about 40 pages left, and I feel like somebody's gonna get hurt. Somebody's gonna end up probably dying that I really like. I don't know if I'm ready. Famous last words. I don't know how much I can do this anymore. We only have like 20 pages left now. And let me just tell you, the "it's been my honor" broke my heart. I'm not gonna lie. That was like the final thing. And now we just finished the chapter on page 474. And of course it's with our main character and her dragon. No, don't let her go too. Ah! We changed point of views! No! Oh my gosh. Stop. Stop. Hold on. Something's happening. We have like 6 pages left. Let's just say somebody woke up. That's all you need to know. Stop. That's sad. Stop. I read that because my camera turned off for a second. No, don't say that. Don't say that. I have literally a whole page left. 1 page front and back, so 2 pages in total. Just get them all out. Oh no. No, I feel like this is definitely who I said it was going to be. I don't like that. I gave you my trust for free once, and once is all you get. Just be open. Just accept it. Just ask them questions. I knew it. I'm putting that in the spoilers. If you can watch the spoilers, go watch it. I knew it. I called it. Dang, good thing I just bought Iron Flame. I'll have to read this, jump into the next book because, oh my gosh, so many emotions at the end. I'm going to update another day so I can fully think about this book, and also because it is like 1 in the morning by now, and I'm gonna say I finished this on the 27th of February, even though technically it is the 28th of February. I don't care. I stayed up and I never slept, therefore I finished it 2 days before the end of February. Hello everybody. I want to give my final update and close out this reading vlog for Fourth Wing. Oh my goodness, I have no clue how much I want to say say, how much I don't want to say. If I could retell you this entire book, I think I would. Obviously, I don't want to give that kind of spoiler because that is way too much. And also it'd be so much rambling, so much talking about it, because I tried to describe a little bit of this book to my husband last night when he asked some questions. And every time I was starting to tell him something, I had to backtrack and tell him more of it because there was so many things that linked together, so many things that maybe were blindsiding or I didn't even think about, and then other things that I was like, oh my gosh, it makes so much sense, or even, oh my gosh, I called it. I absolutely love this book. I think it deserves a little bit of the hype that it does have. I'm not gonna lie, I am so excited to hop into Iron Flame eventually, not necessarily right now, but I cannot wait to see what that book is about, even though I know a lot of people did not enjoy the book. And then of course Onyx Storm, the thing that I've heard so many good things about, especially the last half of that. I have a few theories for that book. I have a few theories for Iron Flame. I have some things that I've told you about in the spoiler section, which will be after this, and then some things that I'm keeping to myself so that if they're completely wrong, I don't look like an idiot. But oh my goodness, I think this book was so good. This was a 5-star read. I was imagining everything like I was watching a movie. I called some things. I was blindsided. I had so much emotion. I felt like, in a way, a heartache for a certain character at the end. I had some like frustrating moments. I had some emotions of like happiness, of just like excitement and giddiness even. And then there were some other things that I was like, no, absolutely not. This is not how it's gonna go. This is not what's happening. Things like that. I think books like that, because I don't normally draw out normal emotion. I don't know, here lately in the past year, I feel like I've found really great books to give me that emotion, but normally I don't get a lot of emotion. So when I find books like that, they're automatically like at least a 4, 4.5, if not 5 stars. I actually really enjoyed our main character. Yeah, maybe from time to time her being fragile was a little bit annoying, but I don't think it was as bad as everybody said. I think they were just trying to find stuff to critique about the book. Not gonna lie, kind of like what people do with Colleen Hoover, to be honest. Yeah, it was a little bit annoying, but I don't think it was that annoying as people were making it out to be. I think it was just a little bit exaggerated. The dragons talking and their sassiness, like her dragon, the sassiness from him, I loved it. I love the little attitude. I love also the attitude of certain characters, especially a certain character that, let's just say, can communicate with our main character a certain different way than the others. That sassiness, that attitude that he gives her, love it. I'm not gonna lie, I love it. I love the world. I love the world building. I love the military style of this book. I love the subplot of romance for the most part. I love the little war that's going on. I love looking at the map. I love how these books look, especially lined up vertically, where they each kind of fade into the next book. There is so many things about this book that I feel like I could tell you I absolutely love. Hardly anything that I could tell you I didn't like. Mainly about maybe a certain character having an issue, maybe about being frustrated about another different character because I thought he would be better and instead he didn't want to believe her in some aspects. There was one point where I was like, and it was at the end, where I was hoping that there would be no bickering because a secret was let out, not necessarily in the best of ways, and it was like our main character was just not just going along with it, let's just say. She had to try and pick a fight, and I was like, no, you do not get to act like that. I like you, but you cannot be like that. Like a typical character that I don't like, let's just say, a typical female in a way. And then all of a sudden she kind of changed and I was like, okay, I can get behind you again. This is fine. I had a really amazing time reading this. I understand the hype. I'm so excited about the next book and the rest of the series, but I honestly think that this was such a great, amazing book, and I'm sorry if you did not like it. I'm sorry. We all have our own opinions. If you kind of liked it, but it was just kind of overhyped for you, I'm so sorry. I think what helped is the fact that I refused to let spoilers around me about this book because I knew I bought it for a certain reason. For some reason, just hearing a good fantasy book, I wanted to pick it up because I love fantasy. It's like my top favorite genre, and because of that, I didn't want a single spoiler. Every time somebody started talking about this book, I would skip, and I think because of that, I stayed out of the loop. I knew a few things. I didn't know what the dragons meant. I didn't know if they actually communicated. I didn't know how they communicated. I didn't know if they actually just spoke to each other, or if it was through the head, or if it was like through objects floating in air, or this or that. There were so many things that I really just hid and steered away from, and I think because of that, it made going into this book and being so blind in the best way, probably about like 90% blind, absolutely amazing. I'm not gonna lie. So if you can try and avoid spoilers, definitely do. If you haven't read it, definitely read it. I think it's worth it. Hopefully it is for you. And if you already read it, well, I hope you loved it. And if you didn't, I'm sorry. I hope either the rest of the series gets better for you, or I hope you find other books that make you feel how I felt about this book. I just want to thank you all so much for watching this little reading vlog. I had so much fun filming it, so much time reading, and I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. If you're staying for the spoiler section, good luck. I have no clue how long it's going to be, but thank you for watching this video and staying. And if you won't be watching the spoiler section, then let me just go ahead and end this out. Again, thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope to see you on another video here on my channel, and as always, God bless. I just read about their little like trial thing. I don't remember what it's actually called, but basically where they're trying to act as the enemy, like what would be one thing that the enemy could get a step up on you. Our main character Violet, since the fact that her mother is a general and she grew up with that little lifestyle, and also she has pertinent information as to how to get into areas that maybe normal civilian type people cannot necessarily get into. I find it really interesting, and I love the fact that she stole her mother's map for this little game trial thing that they had. So her and her group went into her mother's office. They stole the map that talked about all the relative up-to-date information along the borders that they have for the war up until I think the night previous, and also I think it said something about like trade routes. Yeah, she says, "We have brought the ultimate weapon for our enemies. An up-to-date map of all the current outposts of the Navarian, I do believe. I don't know how to actually say this. I've been saying it so many different ways in my head. To include troop strength of infantry battlements." She then points to a border and she says, "As well as the locations of all current skirmishes in the last 30 days, including up to last night." And then there's one professor who's like, "Well, how do we know that this map is in fact current?" And then it says, "There's no stopping the smile that spreads across my face because we stole it from General Soren Gale's office," which is her mother. I just thought that was so funny. And then her look across the room to Xaden and how he looks at her. I just found it all absolutely perfect. A great way to end the chapter, to be honest. I don't know how to feel. I actually think I really like Xaden. Like, I like his character. I feel like he's more of a good person who had a bad family type dynamic. Everybody thinks badly of him, but really he's a good person who does semi-bad things from time to time. But he's more good than bad. Just doesn't know how to show it, let's just say. That's how I'm kind of thinking of him. But this part, when Violet and her friend kind of sneak out or try to sneak out to go visit, when they're along the border and they want to go sneak out to see her family, and then Myra ends up showing up. Well, she was already technically there, but she knew that something was up, so she kind of met up with them, and then she helped kind of go with them because Violet was gonna go no matter what, so it was better if she basically knew that they were safe. Then Violet was asking Myra a couple questions, and at the end it's basically like, "Oh, have you ever been stationed with any riders that had mated pairs for like their dragons?" And Myra answers like, "Yeah, one, why?" And then Violet comes back, "Well, I'm just wondering how long they can be separated." And then the very next line is, "Turns out about 3 days is their max." And then Xaden steps out of the shadows, and that's the end of the chapter. I love that like small little cliffhanger for a chapter that's not necessarily so major, but at the same time we know how Myra feels about him. We know how Violet is mixed and feels about him. And then obviously as the reader you have your own personal opinion about him. So I'm excited to see how this goes down. I absolutely love the fact that Xaden can actually talk and communicate through Violet's mind to her, just like how they kind of do with their dragons. And since both of their dragons are mated and paired together, it's like the four of them can all talk together, and I absolutely love that. And the fact that he just tried it and the way that it played out, it was so good to me. I don't know why, I just absolutely loved it. I'm to the point where basically her dragon, Violet's dragon, just showed up with a saddle, and I absolutely love the fact that Xaden is like, first off, you're gonna get on it because I worked hard and I had it specifically made for you, and secondly, I almost got burned in the process of trying to fit it on. And then you got her dragon who's like, well, actually, the first models were unacceptable and you had the gall to pinch my chest scales when clumsily assembling it this morning. Apparently his eyes narrow on Xaden, and I just find it so funny because the sass. This dragon is so sassy and I'm here for it. I absolutely love it, especially since she's got the two dragons. So you got the one, not immature, but like younger, more kind of childish, still maturing in a way. And then you got this one that's like the biggest, the baddest, got the most sassy attitude sometimes. And I find it funny, especially as we read more along. It's just getting better and better, his communication with her. And also now that we have Xaden's voice intermitting into this. And they're like all three, actually I guess in total with the two dragons, 3 dragons with Xaden's, and then both of them. So all 5 of them are bonded. More so just the 4, but I find that so funny. And I love reading little things like this. I'm still reading on. I'm trying to finish this page so then I can wrap up. And basically her dragon straight up says, "You can ride me when the flesh rots off my bones, wing leader." That's the sass that I'm loving. Just like his attitude for no reason. I can't read this. I keep a lot of things off of the internet, off of my internet, let's just say, my social media, because I don't like cussing and stuff. So I'm just gonna skip a couple cuss words, let's just say. Let's just skip it. You'll get the gist. So then Xaden's like, "That stubborn, feisty look always makes me want to kiss you." Like, oh, chill out. We were just arguing about the dragon and the saddle and his being sassy sassy. And now we have Xaden saying what he was just saying. I just did an update and I want to come back to the spoiler section. Can we just talk about Liam almost dying? I really actually like Liam's character. I feel like he's a good friend. The way I was actually a little bit stressed about him falling to his death scared me. Not gonna lie, good thing Violet saved him. Love the way she saved him. And then can we just talk about what she did? How she has lightning as her power. That is so amazing. I love that. Because of her having that power and also because of Xaden having Onyx eyes is always what she says. I think the title Onyx Storm is going to be about both of them together and maybe either fighting or something bad happening between them, because you got Onyx from his eyes and Storm because she's a lightning wielder. I think it works out perfectly.
He's right. Dane didn't try and save her life, but yet she's gonna now have an argument with him. Okay, hear me out. What if her dad never died? They brought her as she was quote unquote dying and being poisoned to her father. It's gotta be somebody she knows. Otherwise, why is Xaden saying you can hate me as much as you want, just live? Maybe it's his father. No, sorry, not father. Maybe it's his family. What if it's her? Wait! I know who the healer is. It's her brother. That's who. It's not her father. Her father definitely died. It's her brother.